Welcome. Is it possible that even as your eyes open from this sitting, your mind can remain still, quiet? Discover and see. Is it possible that even as you hear these words, you don't have to think about them, you don't have to talk to yourself about them, you don't have to comment or judge right or wrong, but actually your mind can be still and open. These words will land where they will. So the very fact that you're here in this circle that spreads around the world, people here from Australia, Europe, Canada, the United States, Japan, all over the world. We're all gathered together in this sacred circle. And what brings us together is the same true heart. Each one of us, no matter where you are or what your circumstances, I already know that you want a world of peace. You want a world of truth. You want a world of love. You want to be able to just get along with each other. You want to be fulfilled, quite naturally. Not everyone has these desires, but that you're attracted and you're here means that something has called you at that level. So welcome. I'm so glad we get to meet, at least in this way. So this is a different kind of talk than I've been doing these last several weeks, several months, in that this is called Freedom and Skillful Means, living a life of love and service. And that's quite different because freedom and skillful means are two very different realms. And when I first met my teacher, Papaji, I had been training therapists, working as a therapist, and everything stopped. My world stopped. And he asked me to carry this transmission to the West. And for the last 25 years, I've been bringing Papaji's transmission to the best possible way that I can, to everybody that I meet that's interested. And the questions arose, and people have asked me lately, how come you've restarted the school? Why did you restart this Leela School for Training Therapists after 25 years of having satsang and meeting with people? And the answer starts with freedom, and then we'll go to skillful means. So freedom, first you have to know that you're not free. Most people don't know that. Most people believe they have free choice, free will, and they're free to do what they like. And if you're caught in that ignorance, you'll never discover the possibility of freedom. So let's talk about freedom. And that's not really talking about. It's really what is freedom. Freedom is waking up to the truth of who you are. Until that happens, it's impossible to be free. Until you wake up to the truth of who you are, everything is conditioned. Your life, your choices, your circumstances, everything will be conditioned based on your body, your genetics and your environment, your culture, your time. So it may seem like free will that I choose to do this or I choose to do that, but actually it's all mechanical. It's all done in a trance of ignorance. So to be free is to wake up to who you really are. And the paradox is that freedom is absolutely the simplest and the most challenging of a lifetime. And because it's so simple, it gets misused and overlooked and misunderstood. So many people work on being free. They do Dharma practice, they do sitting meditations, they do There's a whole world of practice. It doesn't lead to freedom, though. Whatever you practice, you'll get better at. If you practice meditating every day, you'll become a better meditator. If you practice mantras every day, you'll become better at mantras. But finally, ultimately, it does not lead to freedom, because freedom is causeless. You can't have a cause for freedom, or freedom would be limited. And freedom is not limited. Therefore, it has no cause. So this is paradoxical. So freedom has no cause. How do I get it? Well, first you have to realize that there's an identity crisis. That you believe you are a somebody, and this somebody is limited. And in that you're not free. So that's the first place to start to notice the possibility for freedom, is to recognize that in the identification as a somebody, you can't be free. So traditionally, in the Hindu tradition, there are certain requirements before you go to a teacher for freedom. And those requirements classically are laid out that first you have to have a burning desire for freedom. In other words, it can't be casual. It's not a hobby. It's not something you do on weekends or when you go to retreat or half an hour of sitting in the morning. It has to be your hair on fire, an urgency of, I must be free. I must know the truth. Maybe you don't call it freedom. Maybe you say, I must know the truth. I must know who I am. Any way you phrase it, any way you frame it, there has to be a burning desire for something that is transcendent of your own self, as you know it. That's the first requirement. The second requirement is the ability to tell the real from the unreal. Now that could seem pretty obvious, but it's not. People are lost in a trance within a trance within a trance, dreams within dreams, and are willing to follow anything as reality. To find what's real, you have to be willing to turn away from what's not real. And what's not real is everything that appears. Everything that appears. If you can turn away from it, you'll find what's real, what's unchanging. Because if it appears, it also disappears. And appearances can fool us. Just like if you look out at a sunset over the ocean, it looks like, it appears that the sun is sinking into the ocean. It appears that we are stable and stationary and the sun revolves around us. And we believe that for countless lifetimes because it appeared that way. We cannot trust appearances. We cannot trust seems like. If you turn your back on everything that appears or seems like or feels like, you'll find what's unchanging. That's the direction of yourself. That's the direction of truth. It's the direction of freedom. That's what we all want. But it's not a technique or a practice, and it's not a quick fix. In our time, in our culture, everyone is searching for a quick fix. And billions of dollars have been made selling remedies for a quick fix. How to create your reality, how to create abundance, how to change your life, how to do this, how to do that. There are so many quick fixes. How to overcome your fears, how to be empowered, how to have more, how to have better. Those are all quick fixes. Freedom is not that. Freedom is much more simple, much more elegant, and life-changing. Quick fixes believe that my life is reality and I just want it better. Sometime in the future I want to stop this and start that. I want to stop my smoking or stop my overeating or stop my neurosis or stop my self-hatred or stop my... And then I will have... That's quick fixes. This is not that. This is much more radical. Freedom requires your whole life, because what you're given back is beyond your life. What you're given back is true life out of the larval stage. It's like if a caterpillar were to say, well, I kind of like chewing on leaves, and I'm not sure if I really want to do this whole larval thing, cocoon thing. Maybe I'll just do it a little bit, or I'll just do it part way, or I'll leave some feet out. I've got so many legs, maybe I'll just leave a couple of them out of the cocoon in case I want to go back. It doesn't work that way. You give yourself body and soul. And then the cocoon happens of its own nature. And when you give yourself body and soul, you have no idea how you can fly as a butterfly. There's no concept. It's impossible. A caterpillar cannot fly. A caterpillar doesn't have wings. It can't conceive what will happen after it goes into this dark hole of hibernation inside a cocoon to emerge transformed. This is what freedom requires. Your whole body and soul to be given to realize yourself fully, without doubt, without question. We were in Copenhagen last month, or a couple of weeks ago, and Gangaji and I were, somebody came up on the stage and asked us, well, do you still have doubts? We didn't know what she was talking about. And Gangaji said, well, yeah, sure, I have doubts. I have doubts about whether the plane's going to be on time. I have doubts about the quality of the food. I can have doubts about everything. But they said, well, do you have doubts about yourself? And of course not. If we had doubts about ourselves, we wouldn't be speaking. We'd still be exploring and finding. So that's what is available for you, to have no doubt and no belief. Because usually, often, people will substitute a strong belief about who they are, that they can believe without doubt. And it's not that. This isn't a belief in yourself. This is a knowledge of yourself that is certain, not as information, not as data in your mind, but as a certainty beyond doubt, beyond belief, beyond data, to know who you are. And once you know who you are and you stay true to that realization, your whole life changes. It may not change on the outside, but your relationship to what appears changes. Your relationship to yourself changes. Instead of hating yourself or blaming yourself or doubting yourself or trying to fix yourself or trying to make yourself more successful or more lovable or more anything at all that's over. That's just a dream that you wake up from. And you're left in the depths of the truth of peace and love. That's what we all hunger for. And that's what my life is given to. But once this happens, and you realize yourself, then what? Then this inner self expresses itself through the body-mind that it appears in. And it can be very different in its expression. Ramana Maharshi, for years, did not speak. And when he finally did speak, he never left his holy mountain. He became a hermit. And so people had to come to his mountain to come to him. And mainly he still didn't speak, he sat in silence. This was his teaching, the transmission of silence. Very few actually got it and woke up. And then people would ask him other kinds of questions, and he'd give them other kinds of answers to satisfy them. Where is the heart located? Where is the self located? What about this? What about that? And he was sweet, and he wanted to help in whatever way. So he would answer limited questions with limited answers. But ultimately and finally he sat in silence, and that was his teaching. It's the teaching of a sage, teaching of a hermit. But this teaching presupposes a network of people who will not wake up and go to the mountain. It presupposes that there'll still be farmers to grow the food. There'll still be people to bring the food. There'll be people who will take care of him. There's a whole social safety network set up for people who wake up in India, and they're supported in a certain way. That's the social milieu. Then you have the Buddha, very different. Buddha wakes up, Gautama wakes up, and he starts to preach and teach. He goes around trying to help others. It's beautiful. How many actually woke up? We only know of one, Ashoka, his disciple, who, when the Buddha holds up a flower, Ashoka gets it and wakes up. Nothing verbal. And so the Eightfold Path that, as a Buddhist, I have been a Zen Buddhist, I've been a Tibetan Buddhist, I've done the practices, I've done the work, and it's all about the Eightfold Path of the Buddha. And that Eightfold Path is right speech, right livelihood, right food, right thoughts, right speech. There's a whole variety of these Eightfold Path. But what my teacher said is the Eightfold Path does not lead to awakening, it comes from awakening. So after you're awake, quite naturally, you'll have good thoughts and good speech and good diet, maybe. Because then it's possible that doesn't happen when you wake up. But it doesn't lead to awakening. You can practice the Eightfold Path your whole life. It's not what brings you to awakening. Because you can't practice waking up. And then there's the example of Nityananda. In the early 70s, when Swami Muktananda first came to this country, I was brought to see him. And I'd never experienced the shower. I've never experienced a shower of Shakti, the power of his energy, in anything besides LSD. And his energy to me was like an LSD trip. And his guru, Nityananda, an awakened, self-realized being, would sit in a tree and throw rocks at people when they came by. That was his expression. He was free, he was liberated, and he didn't want to be around people, and he threw rocks at them. Although he also, it was said, gave signs that could interpret the Bombay stock market. And if you could follow his signs, you could make a lot of money, and they would give him a cut. So those are three very different styles of what happens in this awakening process. All those styles assume that not everybody's going to wake up. Because if everybody woke up and they all became hermits, or they all sat in trees, or they all went around teaching, there'd be nobody to grow the food. There'd be nobody to make the clothes. Society would stop, and we'd all starve to death. So the presupposition there is that it's only for a few, and the rest will continue working and supporting. In our time, there's a different model, a different possibility, that you can wake up and be in the world but not of it. This is really what Papaji brought to us. To be completely liberated, awake and free, and be a participant in the dream of this lifetime. So now we're going towards what is skillful means. You can have skillful means without being awake. And you can be awake without having skillful means. And skillful means are not necessary for awakening. And skillful means are useful, whether you're awake or not. And one of my teachers, Milton Erickson, was a classic hypnotherapist who was not awake, never heard of it, but a master at entering rapport with other people's reality and assisting them. He was brilliant, he was a genius. So that's skillful means. I used to read Lao Tzu a lot, and I love the I Ching. And the I Ching is a formula for skillful means. If you read the I Ching, or you even throw those coins or do the arrow stalks, all it's doing is teaching you skillful means. Not about being awake, not about being free, but how to function skillfully in the world. And the reason that's useful now, the way I see it, is that we can't all go to the mountain. We have to be able to function in the day-to-day world skillfully. So that whether you're awake or not, you can have a life of love, a life of peace. You can be in service of your brothers and sisters, of fellow humanity. When I met Papaji, and he knew I was training therapist at that time, I was working at Esalen Institute and 2 months a year, doing a certification program in clinical hypnosis, and working in Vienna a month a year doing the same certification program. He said, let both client and therapist wake up. It's brilliant. Let both client and therapist wake up. And that's my mission. And that's why I've restarted the Leela School, because I see the benefit. After 25 years of satsang, I see that satsang is for awakening, but it doesn't necessarily help you with your personal relationships. It doesn't necessarily help you with skillfully meeting what appears in front of you. It certainly doesn't help you with being a therapist, or being a coach, or being a guide, or being a healer. Papaji was a master at transmitting freedom. He was a master at entering your reality and popping you awake in it. But when it came to psychological issues, he had no background. He had no insight into the structure of ego, into the nature of emotions. And so he would send people to me. There was one time when I was in Lucknow where he would set me up in a flat and send everyone to me who wasn't getting it. And then he'd send people to me who had sexual abuse issues, because he didn't know how to deal with sexual abuse issues. He was there for you to wake up. But some people couldn't wake up because they were still burdened by the issues going on inside of them. They weren't whole enough. See, in order to wake up, you have to have a healthy ego. You have to have it, your ego has to be just in its basic duality of the doer and the judge of the doer. That's the basic ego split, the basic dual nature. And when the doer and the judge of the doer are united in the desire for freedom, nothing can stop you. But if you have other parts of you that are not unified, that are still suffering, still grieving, still fighting wars, still going on, then you're not present enough to fully embrace the possibility. Then it's possible to have help. And so Papaji would send these people to me, and he gave me a full practice when I was in Lucknow. And one day, because this is his mastery, one day he said to me, so, a lot of people are telling me they're waking up with you. That immediately, there was this inflation of, yay, yes, he hears it, he knows it. And as soon as he saw that, he said, but I don't understand something. Tell me, do you call yourself Isaac? And when he said that, I immediately went, no. And I got it, and he laughed, and I laughed, and it popped. That was his mastery. That was his genius. Just pushing me where he knew it would just pop. And so that's the brilliance of the possibility of the transmission of awakening. And then skillful means is something else. Skillful means is the possibility of relating with each other and serving each other, being a true friend for each other. And so this Leela school is set up, the basis is being a true friend, discovering what it means to be a true friend. Because to be a true friend means to have an open heart, a quiet mind, and to not take anything personally. So right now, you, in this moment, if you're willing to be a true friend for yourself and the world, to have a quiet mind, an open heart, and not take anything personally, that's enough. Then, enlightenment, non-enlightenment, that will take care of itself. Freedom or not freedom will take care of itself. You just be with a quiet mind, open heart, and not take anything personally. And then, there's skillful means. That's the basis. Then, how to intervene. When someone asks for help, how to give them help and not advice. Because mainly what you see in the world, everybody's giving each other advice. Well, when that happens, what you should do is, or the next time, what should happen, or what you need to do in order to get what you want is, advice is useless. Advice is not help. It's a kind of preaching. It's an I know and you don't know, and I'm going to give you something that you don't have. That's the old model. That's old school. That's religion. That's old-time religion. And it's not good enough for me. So to truly serve is not to give advice, not to preach, not to tell someone, oh, you're already free, you're already enlightened, it doesn't matter. It's only a story. That doesn't help anybody. It just spreads more concepts. And so that's been my mission. My mission has been a mission for freedom from most of my life. And I pass it on to you. Let it be your mission. Let your life revolve around freedom and love. And you'll discover, beyond belief, the world changes from hell to heaven. It doesn't mean you ignore the suffering of this world, because the suffering, of course, is a nightmare, it's painful, it's heartbreaking. You let it break your heart. The tragedy, the waste, human madness, it's heartbreaking. But don't jump into the negativity with it. That's the tendency, is to then be at war with it. Then you're adding negativity. To blame it, you're adding negativity. Instead of blaming, instead of going to war with, be love. Be the alternative. Be the possibility. Be yourself. And then you're the living example that sets us all free. Okay? Hope that was clear. Sorry for all the technical difficulties while we were sitting. I don't know if you got it, but I got an operator telling me something about my line being busy or something. That was a great test. I don't know if you heard that. I hope you did. While we were sitting, this operator came on about an automated call, something. The tendency would be to get irritated with it, to wish it would go away, to feel like it ruined something. That's our tendency. That's the reactive, negative tendency of mind. And I don't know if you had that or not. I don't know if you even heard it. But if you did hear it, and you didn't move, there's a bliss in hearing what seems like a disturbance and not moving with it. There's a bliss in knowing. Bliss in knowing yourself, and to the bliss of being tested. That's what it is. It's a bliss of being tested. So, all of life is a test. If you react to it and go negative with it, you're part of the problem. So I'm inviting you to be the solution. I hope this is clear. And I'm open to any questions or reports or anything you have to say. So Valerie's the first person up. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, Eli. I'm really grateful to you. It's been many years since I was in a 3-year group and in the Layla program, and
Yes.
I would love to be in the Layla school this August, but unfortunately my school work schedule conflicts, so I can't do that. So my question is, I have come across some skillful meanings, and I find myself resistant to moving in the direction of them. I have studied NLP. I'm a master practitioner.
Valerie, for some reason, I'm not getting what you're saying very clearly. I heard you say resistance to something, and I'm sorry, but could you repeat it? I don't know why I'm not hearing it clearly.
Yes, I'm having resistance to an incredible, skillful meaning teaching that has been placed in my lap by my Tibetan Buddhist Qigong master. And I don't know what to do. It breaks my heart, but he's my root guru.
You have to stay true to yourself, whatever that means. I don't know what resistance means, really, People would tell me they have resistance, and I never had that, so I didn't know what it was. And then, when I had this cancer thing, when I was being treated for my cancer, it was super heavy-duty chemo, and I was good with that. It was all going along fine. But then they were going to do the stem cell transplant. And to do the stem cell transplant, they have to kill off your immune system. And it would be very easy to die from a secondary disease. And for some reason, that scared me more than dying of the cancer or dying from the chemotherapy. And so the thought of doing this stem cell treatment a couple of weeks or a week ahead, I had a mental resistance to it. And that's what gave me the clue. I said, oh, this is what resistance is. I'm projecting something into the future, and then I'm afraid of it or I'm angry about it. So I don't know how that relates to you, but that's what I found for resistance. I don't know what resistance means for you. But there has to be some future projection about it.
Well, I don't know if I'm afraid of losing my identity in the process of doing this Qigong. I don't know if it's so, if I'm touching on the edge of this deeper awareness, and that scares me. I think that's what it is, actually. And my identity, or I think maybe my self-image wants to stay small. I don't know.
Yeah. That all sounds right. That's the natural human condition. Fear of losing identity, wanting to stay safe by staying small as an identity, and the fear of the unknown. Good. Well, I'm glad your teacher brought you to that edge. Now it's up to you. No one jumps but you.
Oh. Is it just a matter of jumping?
It's a willingness to lose everything. There's really nowhere to jump. There's really nothing. If you look down, you'll see you're not standing on any firm ground anyway. So your whole identity that you're trying to protect is just a little soap bubble. It has no weight. It has no meaning. It has no depth. It's just a soap bubble that you're terrified that if it pops, you'll be out in the open. No? You can keep it together if you want, if that serves you.
how do I proceed with developing these skillful means without being a doer, but yet also being literally setting up a program for myself, like a routine?
You were speaking of stepping off into the unknown and losing your identity. That's a completely different realm. First, yeah. So most people will divert from that into getting busy doing something. Then that becomes an avoidance. And whatever you do will be suffering, because you'll be using it to avoid yourself, to stay safe and small.
So then when I think about doing the practice, how do I lose the identity? And then I guess I have to let go of everything, though. But then if I don't do anything, it reaffirms the staying small.
How do you know?
Is it?
So you have an idea of what doing nothing means. And that means staying small. No, staying small takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. You have to talk a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to have a certain posture. Staying small takes work. Doing nothing is the greatest challenge of a lifetime. It's not about being stupid. It's about being intelligent. It's not about being lazy. It's about being open. And the only way you'll be willing to lose everything, your identity, your smallness, your safety, your comfort zone, is if you have a burning desire for something more important. And if you do, you'll stay true to yourself. If you don't, you'll deflect into some practice or activity that will keep you occupied. And if you do, well, that's fine. Do it well. Do it 100% and be a master at it. But give up the struggle one way or another. Know what I mean?
I think I do.
You think you do doesn't count. See, that's just your head talking to yourself. In your heart, do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I've experienced that, but around this Qigong practice, I don't.
Well, I have no idea what your Qigong practice is. I don't know how real it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about it. I'm just talking to you.
Yeah.
And what I said to you had nothing to do with your Qigong practice.
Right.
So all that is still a deflection from hearing what I said. Because you do know what I mean. And it scares you, right?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh.
Yes. You have to
Oh, yeah.
It's confronting yourself. It's being ruthless with yourself. Ruthlessly honest with yourself. To stop talking to yourself. To stop staying small and safe. It takes courage.
Mm.
People think
that one?
People think courage means the fear goes away. If there's no fear, there's no courage.
Mm. Yeah. Mm. Huh.
All right, Valerie, it's good. Good. It's a life and death situation you're in. It's very rare and lucky that you have this moment where you're confronted with the smallness and terror of your ego and the possibility of losing your identity. Most people never have that choice, never even know it's possible. You're so lucky you've been brought to this precipice. Be grateful for it. Be grateful and make good use of it.
Mm. Thank you, Eli. And would you please consider offering your Layla school in July so people who work in schools could come?
Well, you know, dear, I would, but I'm teaching in Europe in July. And so, you know, it's like it has to fit. I mean, my schedule, I'm on the road like 9 months a year. And so these are the times that it fits into the into my work schedule. So, you know, everything's possible. It's possible that it would change, but I think August isn't the same as July. Isn't that summertime?
No, I work at a school and I start back in August. So I would so love to deepen in the Layla skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. Love for you to be here sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. It's good to hear from you again.
Take care.
Bye. Okay. So when Valerie is speaking, she's speaking for all of us. We're all attached to our identity as a somebody. For some, like Donald Trump, it's a megalomaniacal perversity of specialness, arrogance, and pride. For others, like Valerie, it's about being small and safe and secure and harmless so that you won't hurt me, you won't see me. I won't stand out. I won't be a target. Those are the two extremes. Donald Trump, he's fine being a target because he knows he's going to whatever. So either way, ego inflation or ego deflation are the two basic stances that we move between in our lives. Sometimes the lights are shining on me, other times I can barely see. Like that. So we go from inflations of success to deflations of defeat. And that little bubble that inflates and deflates is called myself. And if you're willing for that bubble to examine it, to just examine it to see, is it real? Is there really anything separating your idea of yourself from yourself? Is there anything really separating you from the outside? Let the bubbles pop. On the other hand, I've seen people totally misuse this teaching in so many ways. I met some people in Europe this time who they recognize that there's nothing but freedom. They already are free, and they can be who they want to be and be like they want to be, and it doesn't matter. And they were so arrogant, so full of themselves, so rude in taking this precious teaching, this precious, precious, sacred teaching, and turning it into an ego trip. And then there are others, and that's the ego inflation. And then there are others who stay ego deflated by, I'm not sure if I know who I am, and I need to work on who am I, or burden themselves with practices and doubts to stay small, to stay safe. If you don't take either of those positions, if you're not inflated and not deflated, if you're not someone special, if in this moment you allow yourself to be nobody at all, make believe, let's make believe in this moment that you are nobody at all. Not a man, not a woman, not a body, with no past and no future. Just in this moment, what's your experience? What are you then? Now, I suspect that most of you have at least a taste from this. But this taste won't last, because it was just a passing fancy. But if you give yourself to it fully, if you surrender everything to what you taste, you won't move. And this immovability, you're then in alignment with yourself, because yourself is immovable. So when the wandering mind becomes immovable, you're in alignment. And then the depths shine through the surface. When you're out of alignment, the light is still shining, but it doesn't make it to the surface because it gets deflected by the ways that you move, the zigs and the zags, the inflations and deflations. I hope this is clear. It must be clear because there are no other questions. Oh, there is a question. Volker. Volker from Australia.
Hello.
Hi, Volker.
Hello, good to hear you.
Good to hear you too. Hey, you know those calendars you gave me? I gave them away and people love them.
Sorry, Eli, what did I give you?
Didn't you give me calendars?
Calendars? No.
No? Oh, sorry. It was a different Volker. That was German Volker. You're German Volker in Australia.
Yeah, and just to confuse the matters, I'm in Germany right now.
Oh, there you go. So I'm lost.
No, yeah, I'm not.
Good.
I prefer it that way.
Yes, me too.
A little report.
Yes, please. Wie geht's?
Sehr gut, vielen Dank.
Yeah.
And it's funny now with this inflation and deflation, but in the last few days I walked past the mirrors a few times and I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
A certain warmth. I went, oh, hello.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has to do something with inflation or deflation, but something with
Yes,
comfort.
you saw what's deeper. It's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
And this, yeah, I think so too. It's very beautiful. And that's also what I see, and I think it's beautiful that is what I can see. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really happy.
Yes. Yes. When the heart shines through, then everything is beauty. And you see yourself and you can love yourself. It's wonderful.
And thank you for your encouragement in the phone call, and also for taking off pressure. You know, there can be in this desire to wake up. You know, at least I can put a lot of pressure on myself, but it all has its own course and its own timing.
Yes.
And I can only do as much as I can do, and I can see the genuinity and sweetness and desire and
Yes.
eagerness, all of which is beautiful. But I cannot go faster than life itself.
That's
I've learned
right.
what I can do. And
That's
I
it.
have to be happy with that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really what it is you put your head on the chopping block. And then it's over. You've done your job. When the chop comes, it's not your business. You don't chop. You just put your head on the block. then the chop may come at the most inconvenient time. So many times people say, oh my God, I was so close, but I was scared. It was like too soon, too much, not now. But it doesn't matter. Your head's on the block, so whenever the time is, that's your time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm so glad.
I'm glad too, and thank you for making yourself available on the phone calls.
Huh.
And thank you really so much for the clarity and the integrity. There's so many possibilities to get lost in this life and in this world.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm happy to get lost because then I can tell the clarity from the confusion.
Yes.
But without your words, without your integrity, I see the big capacity that I would have gotten completely lost in this world.
Thank you. Thank you, Volker. And I'm so grateful. It's like when I met my teacher, there was no internet. There were no satsangs. There were no satsang videos. There were no satsang audios. There was none of this was possible. And so now it's like, I'm so grateful that we have this, that you can be in Germany, I can be here in Ashland, and we can be connecting heart to heart. It's so beautiful. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, me too. Yes, me too. And I mean, even if we talk, or I talk very rarely, you're with me every day. This journey is so integral to my life. Phone conversations like this one, and the conversation is just 1% of what I bring to this.
Yes.
And you're with me so often, and I would like to say all the time. But thank you for all of it, for when you're present without context, but also when you're present in person or online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Volker.
Thank
We're all connected. We're all alive in each other's heart because there's only one heart. When Papaji died in India, I was in Stinson Beach in California, asleep in my bed in the middle of the night. I didn't know he was in the hospital. I didn't know he was dying. I hadn't been in contact that way. There was no internet, there was no email. And I sat up in my bed in the middle of the night, sat straight up and started laughing and crying at the same time. And I knew Papaji had died. And it was so blissful and so painful. It was just certainty that he'd left his body. And that's what we all are connected that way. And to the degree that you love someone, you're that more deeply connected limbically. And so we're all have a different capacity, different relationships, but we all have the same love. We all are the same love. Same consciousness speaking these words is hearing these words. And if you try to block it by thinking about it or talking to yourself, somehow mysteriously it'll still go into your heart. Because that's why you're here. So that even if there's resistance of your mind, your heart is calling. Your heart is drinking the nectar. Not of these words. These words are just air. But what these words convey, they're a carrier wave. And it's a carrier wave that goes directly to your heart, regardless of what the mind thinks or doesn't think. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your life. Give your life fully to yourself, without question or doubt. Face the unknown with full courage and total terror. And step off and you're free. And don't even step off, just don't step forward. Don't move. Be still and you're free. That's simple. And then simple doesn't mean easy. It's a challenge of your lifetime. It's why you're here. It's why we meet. Thank you for being here. May all beings be free. May all beings live in peace. May all beings love the truth in themselves and each other. Thank you, thank you, thank you.